welcome to this week's edition of the Freeman Cast. This is Daniel, your regular host, here with Josh Freeman. And we have a special guest today. Her name is Nika. She has come all the way from Malaysia. Well,
yeah, but
Bucharest.
Is her name really Nika? What's her name?
Yes.
Well, my name is Lakshanika Lamira Shen Karim Mohammed Abazin Bubu.
Wow.
It's a really long name.
Can you say that 3 times fast?
Yes, and slowly into the microphone, please, for our listeners.
I mean, they gotta know who you are.
Yeah.
Well, they can know me from Nika. They don't need to remember my full name.
Okay, fair enough.
So you guys heard it the first time. Anyway, so our good friends Josh and Nika, they're back from their trip in Macedonia. But first, we'd like to know a little bit more about you. So you're from Malaysia, but you're actually based in Bucharest at the moment,
actually Timișoara.
Right? Timișoara. Oh, right.
It's the borders of border city of Hungary.
In Romania.
Yeah.
And what are you doing out there?
Well, I'm a part-time journalist for Vice, and I write online websites. And I'm working with the Gypsies to help implement a non-conventional education system.
Okay. And what is the name of this cause that you're working for?
It's called I Smile, but it's under this organization called Skopje, which in Romanian means seashells.
And is the gypsy education, would you describe it, the current gypsy education as conventional education?
Well, the current gypsy education is provided by the government, but the problem is not everyone has identification cards to actually obtain the education. So most of them don't get any education at all.
Oh, wow.
They don't learn anything at home.
Well, they don't learn anything except what their parents teach them.
Yes. And is there any way of donating to this course?
Well, so far we haven't established a donation portal yet because we are still working on the logistic parts.
Right.
So once we are open for donation, then we'll definitely let you know.
Great. And in the meantime, is there anywhere that they can get information on this?
Yes, they can look up to the website called Skopje.
Okay.
So just type in Skopje or Seashells, Timișoara, Romania.
Okay.
Then you can get all the
Good
details
luck
from there.
spelling that.
Yes, how do you spell it?
No, seriously, there's a party going on in Macedonia.
Yeah.
Let's get down to business.
Yes,
Yeah.
let's get down to it. So enough plugging of and self-promotion. So you guys just came back from Macedonia, right? Macedonia has been in the news quite a bit lately. So let's go into that and find out why you went.
Okay, well, this past weekend, we had an opportunity to visit the city of Kumanovo. A week ago, or now 8 or 9 days ago, there was violence there. The government sent in police into this, it's an ethnically mixed town, they sent them into an Albanian neighborhood of Kumanovo, and there was a giant shootout. It lasted the better part of 2 days. It went all weekend. 8 police officers died, and 14 so-called terrorists died. And others were injured, and
34 were arrested.
And supposedly there were all these guys arrested. And this police operation and this big firefight came amid a political crisis.
Right.
It came amid protests that were picking up against the Gruevski government that's currently in power. And because of that, a lot of people are accusing Gruevski of staging the violence and staging ethnic conflict to try to distract people from all the allegations that he faces in the protests against his government.
Right.
So we went there because we had a contact in the city who offered to show us around, to take us to all the burned out houses, and to give us an opportunity to explore and talk to locals and try to find out what on earth happened there 8 or 9 days ago.
Okay, so that's a lot of information to take in, but what can you tell us about the events that led up to the attacks?
Well, I just described it briefly.
Yes.
There's been a wiretapping scandal that's been going on for months now. It started in January.
Right.
And there are all these leaked wiretaps that the opposition, the Macedonian opposition, is publishing. And it's implicating the government in all kinds of corruption and all kinds of abuses of power.
Right.
Everything from mass surveillance to rigging elections to covering up a murder. And because of that, protests were starting to kick off in about 2 weeks and the week leading up to this violence that broke out in Kumanovo.
Right. And the protests were nationwide? Were they?
No, not nationwide. They're happening in Skopje, the capital.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and interestingly enough, we did visit Skopje a few weeks ago.
Daniel and I, we visited Skopje. That was 2.5 months ago.
And do you think that all of this is in any way linked to the Skopje 2014?
Well, people actually found Skopje 2014 a useless waste of money. From asking every one of the citizens that they thought it was a freaking joke and they were expecting everyone else to laugh at it. Well, because they find it's not Macedonian history, it's just few blocks of pretty building built to get attention, which doesn't attract tourists because tourists find it as a joke.
Really quickly, I'll remind the listeners, you can check out our previous podcast on Skopje or Macedonia, whatever it was called.
Yes.
And also I did a video on this that's on YouTube. Very quickly, Skopje 2014 is this giant renovation project. It's a bunch of new neoclassical buildings that are built along the waterfront, the Vardar River that runs through the center of Skopje, the capital of Macedonia, and it's got political and ethnic undertones. Basically, the Macedonian government is conveying a message to Greece and its other rivals in the area that all of this history belongs to us, it doesn't belong to you.
And we did find the whole thing rather phony and compared it to Las Vegas. In the meantime, let's talk about the present. So how was your trip?
Well, it was interesting. It was
Kumanovo?
a long route. Not a long route, but a long border check. Well, basically, they didn't know where Malaysia was, so I got called out almost every border. Bulgarian border, Macedonian border.
Yeah, but this is normal for you. You've got your go-to move of how to deal with it. And just ask a local how to say, I love such and such country.
Yeah, well, that's the easiest way to deal with it.
Oh, no, actually, you went absurd. You told them...
I want to eat.
They asked you, why are you going to Macedonia?
Yeah, I said I'm going to eat. Well, if I tell them I'm a journalist, I'm going to investigate the protest, they might stop me there and never let me in.
You raise a point, but... I mean, you're not a sumo wrestler.
I don't
what
need to be...
What are you going to do, go there, eat non-stop for 48 hours?
Well, that has been achieved by me, and I have reached food coma in Hungary, so...
Alright, then we'll have to talk about that another time.
Yes.
Kumanovo. What did you think of Kumanovo?
Well, there were a lot of speculations in Kumanovo.
Well, first off, what did we see?
Well, first off, we see one really torn down house, but surprisingly, when the attacks occurred at 5 a.m., most of them were not home. Didn't you find that odd?
It was very odd, and we found this out by talking to locals. We were walking around the whole neighborhood that is blown to smithereens, and we've got a lot of great photos, and we'll be publishing them.
Blown to smithereens?
Oh, it's really
explosives?
Bad. Oh yeah,
incinerations, hand grenades,
incendiary devices, grenades. Wow. We literally have the remnants of the grenades in this room.
Yeah.
Just all sitting around.
Yeah,
and as soon as you show up and you walk into that neighborhood. Some ammo's on the table now.
Yeah.
That's the sound of ammunition.
As soon as you walk into the neighborhood, you see homes that have no windows, giant holes blown in them. They look burned out. It really looks like the place was just blown up.
Yeah,
so it's like Call of Duty or something.
Well, yeah, it looks like a war zone.
Yeah.
Because of that, the international media's there walking around.
Well, basically, there were some who were trying to use this as a way to get attention. Some were making the house an open house to welcome every single passerby to visit their demolished house. Some even told there was a 7-Up graffiti which they claimed was drawn by the police who were there, saying there's a Serbian police opposition party or something.
What, 7-Up, like the drink?
Yeah, I haven't gotten to the bottom of this. Yeah. Maybe someone in the comment stream with knowledge of all the ethnic tensions in the Balkans can explain
why
the significance of this 7-Up graffiti. But it was very bizarre because
this is not an attempt to get our listeners to subconsciously drink 7-Up.
Oh, no.
Because it's refreshing. It's not to drink 7-Up.
Okay, thanks for the plug. There's literally fresh graffiti, 7-Up graffiti on top of this apartment block that's been blown to smithereens.
This cool, fresh 7-Up
Well,
graffiti. Okay, let's.
well,
But this
there
is serious. Some people actually died.
well, there was also.
It's actually, well, on that note, it's very interesting how few people died. Because
Yeah, no citizens were involved.
That place was a straight up war zone.
But there
the
were no
weekend before
civilian
last.
casualties.
And the firefight was happening in people's homes.
Yes.
They were literally having shoot 'em up parties in people's homes. And when you go into the homes,
There was
you'll
nothing.
see that the baby's crib is in the line of fire. Everything was in the line of fire. But yet, but no civilian casualties. Very
yeah.
bizarre. Very
Wow,
bizarre.
that's
And on
crazy.
top of that, no announced political motive for the so-called terrorist attack.
Well, there were no demands, and basically everyone has this idea of terrorists that they fight till they die. No one surrenders. But the government claim was that the 34 terrorists surrendered themselves. So it's rather fishy and
Yes.
something odd is going on there. While you talk to the citizens, you also notice that most of them have worked in government agencies for years and have not received a year full of salary. And there was only one family which actually was in the house during the shootout where his wife collapsed,
So,
if you recall.
Yeah, but that wasn't the core of the fighting area.
Right. So from what I understand, there are a number of theories floating around, ranging from the rather sensible to the totally fantastical. So, I mean, what do you think is going on? What have people been
I
saying?
really don't think anything is totally fantastical in terms of what went down there. Before we went, the international media was already weighing in, and I read the New York Times article. I believe it came out on Friday. We
Right.
visited on Saturday and Sunday, literally 1 week anniversary. So the day before, the New York Times comes out with an article, and in there it said something like, in the Balkans, there is no conspiracy theory that is too far-fetched. And in this case, we talked to one person who's got one theory, another person who's got another theory, another person's got another theory, and
It was
the
an
sense
endless route of
is
theories.
it's this conspiracy that is just gonna unwind forever,
Okay.
or not at all.
So, can you point us in any direction?
Yes,
Do you
well-
have any idea what's really going on?
Well,
or what's really going on?
My gut tells me that it's basically what the West is saying, that Gruevski staged this thing
Right.
to distract people from all the protests and the scandal and the allegations. That's what my gut says, but there are a whole lot of other factors that could
Well, some assume
make it more complex.
some
Right.
assume Zaev actually did it too. That-
Who's Zaev? For the
Zaev.
sake of our listeners.
Zaev is the opposition
Position.
leader who's leading all the protests, who's trying to get Gruevski to resign.
Right. Right.
So some assume Zaev did it too in order to win the election, but Zaev is the one who wants
There's no election
to
going
win
on
the
right
to
now.
win the position, to win the governing position.
Yeah.
Well,
Some kind of coup.
That's
Right.
the
Russians.
Russian narrative that's
Right.
coming from the Kremlin, and I listened into the press conference on Friday. Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, was in Belgrade. He was in Serbia, and at the press
Right.
conference in Belgrade, every single question, or almost every single question, for both the Serbian foreign minister and Sergei Lavrov, it was all about Macedonia.
Right.
And the Russian stance is that what's going on in Macedonia is a coup, just like they said about what happened in Kiev, and that it's another Western-backed color revolution to overthrow a democratically elected government. And this means a lot to Russia, because we're going to get into it, we might as well now.
Yes. Yes.
There is a pipeline that's in the works. Russia is trying to bypass Ukraine and pipe all of its gas to southeastern Europe by way of Turkey, Greece, then Macedonia.
Right. Right.
So there are geopolitical implications of what's going on in Macedonia right now.
So can you give any background on the importance of this pipeline and pipelines as a whole? Because, you know, these energy pipelines, they do come up in the news
Although not
quite frequently.
Macedonians really don't find it as one of the main factors towards what's happening now. Most of them don't even relate both of them together.
That was very interesting. I don't know if it's most of them, although it certainly has that impression. And we actually had coffee for a couple hours with one of the guys who was a speaker. He was on stage at
He was an activist.
This guy was on stage speaking, like one of the 5 or 10 speakers at the protest yesterday, and we had coffee for him.
For
So
for
this is the protest
And I was
in Skopje.
Yeah, yesterday, and I was pressing him. I'm telling him that this little country, he says it's less than 2 million people now.
Right.
And yet it's got such geopolitical interest right now. And my take is that it's because of this pipeline.
Right.
And he didn't really want to go there. But I understand he's fighting for freedom and democracy in his country.
Mhm.
A lot of people had little to no interest in the pipeline.
Yes.
But some people were talking about it.
Yeah.
Both in Kumanovo and Skopje.
Okay. And can we mention this activist's name or not? Is it
Well, his name is Ognen.
Okay.
Well, I'm not sure. I have his full name right here.
But you're madly in love with him.
I'm
so
not
you
madly
should know
in love with him. I just find
Just
him
speak into the mic.
intelligent. I just find him intelligent.
Legend.
Yes, intelligent, articulate, knowledgeable.
Is that what you look for in a man?
Yes, exactly.
All right, now you can go look him up. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about the protest yesterday.
Yes, let's do.
This was a big deal. The news reports are anything from 10 to 60,000 or more. I don't know how many.
But the national TV reported only 15 to 20,000, but the private telecast reported at least 60,000 people were there yesterday. And it was the largest protest Macedonia has ever seen since, I guess, 2001, if I'm not wrong.
No. This is the largest protest
They
period.
have ever seen.
In
period.
2001, there was ethnic unrest in Macedonia following the breakup of Yugoslavia and everything going down in Serbia and Kosovo. After that, there were ethnic Albanians coming into Macedonia from Kosovo,
Right.
and there was some fighting, and because of that, there's a lot of buried ethnic tensions that people are worried are going to revive right now amid this political crisis.
Yes.
But for the first time, if you see that yesterday we noticed a combination of Macedonian and Albanian flag. So you can see that the people are coming together as one, not to support the current governing government or the opposition, but in the intention of having a technical government to change their country.
No, that's what your love buddy was saying.
No, not my love buddy.
He
Actually,
supports. It's a whole.
almost majority of the young people said that.
Okay, there.
Yeah, that sounds like a bunch of hippie bullcrap.
Okay, there. No, that's it. The point about the ethnicities coming together is very interesting. At the protest yesterday, there were prominently displayed flags, joint flags of Macedonian and Albanian flags merged as one.
Mm-hmm.
And at the protest, you had members of Zayev's Social Democrats opposition party. You had members of the Albanian opposition parties.
The Roma people.
You had all kinds of young people there, a lot of young people, most of whom are not tied to any particular party.
Yes.
You had a lot of people who were just blind supporters of Zayev and madly in love with him. So you had this really, really eclectic mix there.
And almost everyone standing for one thing. They want their country to be better. It's not regarding who takes the government next, but they just want Macedonia to be better and improve the unemployment rates. Well, if you remember, Oglen said that the minimum wage is 350 euros per month, but the expenditure per month reaches up to 500 euros. And you notice the difference there with the living standards among the people. I'm not sure if...
Macedonia is a very poor country.
It is. It's it's rather surreal considering that it's in Europe. knowing how poor it is. But let's take a quick moment to plug Airbnb. So you guys stayed at Airbnb with Airbnb again.
We've been trying to make plugs on these podcasts, but this Airbnb stop was literally that. It was just a stop. We were in Kumanovo. It was about noon yesterday,
Right.
and we needed a place to stay in Skopje for the night, so I got on Airbnb, and I tried to get the same place that we stayed in, which was very nice last time, above the town square, above the Alexander the Great statue. But that was booked, so then we got some other place, and it was good. But I don't have the details.
Okay.
It was suitable, very suitable.
So that's Airbnb. You know,
Really? Are you sure it's not Airbnb.com? And what's their marketing slogan?
I don't know their marketing slogan. Do you know?
Well, you should get on top of that.
Yes, let's look it up.
I mean, if we're gonna do an impromptu commercial for Airbnb, then we gotta come up with something to make them look good.
Yeah, well, we did. We keep promoting them. So that's AIRBNB. I think Welcome Home might be their slogan.
I think the podcast universe knows what Airbnb is. Let's talk a little more about what went on yesterday.
Yes.
By
yes,
the way,
protests.
did you... Okay, so there was the protest. It was huge. And we had some fun.
We did.
We tried chasing down Zayev. And we did catch up with him a bit.
Oh, you saw him in person?
Oh, we didn't just see him.
We had an interview with him. We got trampled by people.
Well, I wouldn't call it an interview.
But basically barging in, grabbing his hand and saying, we need an interview with you right now.
Did you record anything? Did you capture his...
Yeah, we're going to see how the video came out. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't. I'm still afraid to look at it.
We tried some ambush journalism.
Yes.
And it was very we really gave it our best shot, and Nika's a trooper, because there were big, rough Macedonian dudes who were madly in love with Zayev, just shoving her around everywhere. And I don't know how she stayed on 2 feet, and she turned her ankle amid the mayhem. But we managed to get in a few questions to Zayev. Really quickly, I want to say what I asked him, then I'll give you the chance to talk about it. I wanted to get Zayev to comment on the pipeline, because that's what this is all about to me, geopolitically. Not in terms of what's going on in Macedonia, and they have many, many domestic problems there. But if Gruevski gets taken down and Zayev or someone else steps in, then suddenly the door is open for the West, the US, the EU, and whoever else to kind of put in a wedge between Greece and Serbia and Russia's proposed route of this pipeline, and maybe destroy it the way they did with South Stream, the previous one, which was supposed to go through Bulgaria. So I asked Zayev, and he tried avoiding the question multiple times, but then finally he said, I support something to the tune of, I support competing pipelines, I support anything that brings cheap energy to Macedonia. And who knows how sincere he is about that.
Wow.
And so what exactly was the the South Stream pipeline?
Oh, we can go
in a nutshell.
Okay,
in a nutshell.
Before there was Turkish Stream, which is the one that's what we're talking about right now. The Russia tried to bypass Ukraine by doing South Stream, which is very similar, but it goes across the Black Sea and connects in Bulgaria rather than in Turkey. That failed because Bulgaria is an EU country, and the EU said, we're not having this.
Okay, there you go. That was this South Stream pipeline.
Well, yesterday was interesting because Zayev wasn't the media person. He gave this most diplomatic smile, and he even gave us a mattress which the protesters used to sleep at night. We managed to actually scream and say, no, we don't want the mattress, we want an interview. But then he was like, Gruevski doesn't care about the people, that's all, and he left.
Gruevski said that Gruevski doesn't care about the people?
Zayev said that Gruevski
okay.
doesn't care about people, because the question was, I guess we asked him, how did what does he think about the 9 previous elections in Macedonia, if I'm not wrong? I guess that
I
was
don't know. What did you ask?
Yeah, I guess that
him?
was
'Cause I couldn't hear everything.
I guess that was the question, because I was trying to scream in about the 9 previous elections, what happened in Kumanovo, and I was trying to get by more time to talk to him. But, well, he had mad lovers. Like, the people are just in love with him. They just...
He doesn't have security. He just has a bunch of Macedonian meatheads.
Yeah.
These impromptu bodyguards who are all wearing these red shirts and they're all buff and they just all run around with him and shove people out of the way. But I actually did get in a question to him about Kumanovo and he answered it.
Ah,
I guess.
What did he say?
What was
And
the
we're gonna
answer?
have to find the video. I asked him, it was basically a softball to try to get him to engage with me so I could ask him about the pipeline. I asked him, did Gruevski stage the violence in Kumanovo? And then he starts going into why Gruevski staged the violence. He didn't even hear what I said.
Well, basically...
Okay, so he thinks that Gruevski, he believes that Gruevski...
Oh, he's been saying that all
staged
along.
Yeah,
He's been saying it all along.
But basically, we managed to actually get a short talk with Zaev, which was a big deal, I suppose. Because I don't think so much other journalists or much other media...
Well, no, he
looking at
did
them.
go talk to the media after, but we weren't exactly credentialed media standing in the credentialed media area waiting for the press conference.
We're better than the
We were
credentialed media.
physically fighting to get to him, and I was very impressed with how you hung in there. You got shoved in all kinds of directions. By
Well-
big, bulky men.
I got stuck at one point with my back behind and my legs in the front. It's just basically I let them push me through the flow and hope they don't break me. I thought I lost Joshua for a moment because he was missing the midst of all these Macedonian people. But later that night he came in for like about 15 minutes to do his parade walk.
Well, why don't you tell the listeners what happened at night
So-
after the protest?
Well, at night after having
Was
this...
there like a big sex party?
No, well, the protesters decided to sleep over outside the government building.
Which
where-
is what Zaev told them to do.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was their own initiative to stay there.
Well, maybe that too.
Well, after the interview with Ognan, we decided to go there. Me and Joshua made a quick pit stop. And that's where we found out Zaev came for like 10 minutes and made his parade walk from one end to the other. And you can see all the most of the Macedonian people. Actually, not the younger generation, but most age 30 and above, worshipping him and hoping that he becomes the new government. But he gave his sympathy towards Kumanovo and he gave his sympathy towards the people staying there, and then he left. So he just made an appearance. I stalked him all the way until his car. He was trying to get an interview, but then I got shoved away with the diplomatic smile and the handshake and the shoulder tap.
Who are you more
What-
attracted to, Zaev or Ognan?
I'm never attracted to Zaev.
What car was he driving?
I have no idea. I'm not good with cars.
Was it like... Well, what did it look like? Did it
It's a
look like...
fancy car, politician car. Politicians are not going to drive a horse anyway, so...
Alright, but to fill in the blanks here, there is essentially an Occupy movement going on right now as we speak. There was a rave there last night. Did
Yeah.
you catch any of it?
Ah, so there
Yeah.
was a sex party. I knew it.
Which rave?
I know, then you must not have caught it. They actually brought out a DJ last
Yes.
night. I don't know what point it was in the night. We were out there.
I
We were out there something like midnight to 2, something
I
like
was
that.
there until 3. There was no rave until then, but I think maybe it was after
Or
that.
maybe it was before. I don't know.
That's
It might have
cool.
been earlier. It might have been like 10 o'clock or something. I don't know, or maybe it was super late at night. But it's been in the international press. So right now there's an Occupy movement going out there, and the people sleeping out there are saying they're not going to leave until Gruevski resigns. And I saw for the first time today that people were putting days, actual numbers on this. Like saying Gruevski is going to be... I think I saw Zaev say something to the... I think it was an EU observer. He said Gruevski is going to be gone in 7 days.
7 days.
That's what he's saying. Who knows what the truth is. Who knows if Gruevski is going to be gone, period. Gruevski and Zaev and the Albanian leaders are now in talks with EU officials and NATO and other diplomats. But there is a real life chance that Gruevski
Will be gone.
is going to go away with these guys sitting on the little tiny lawn outside the government building.
So that would be the 24th of May if this official is
Well,
in any way, right? So
who knows?
guys, keep your eyes on their radar. 24th of May. That's the deadline. for
well,
Gruevski.
speaking of days and suspicious timing, the Kumanovo
attack was at the 9th of
blast kicked off on May 9th, Victory Day,
Ah,
and it brings at least Russian Victory Day, and I don't remember if it was the president or one of the ministers or some Macedonian official. I think it was the president actually.
right.
Was in Moscow for the parade, and when he goes there for the parade, that's when all the violence kicks off at home. There's all kinds of sketches.
So this parade was the one where that new prototype famously broke down, right?
Did it break down at the parade?
Or was it before? When they demonstrated it. So
I thought it was before or after.
okay. But they played that off as a drill. Of course, it convinced nobody. Okay, fantastic. So is there anything else that you guys would like to cover?
So far, there are a lot of stories which I'm not sure how relevant it is to what we're discussing here, like the stories of Tamara, the health benefits. There were a lot of other stories which led up to the protest, but as far as we see, there were pro-Russian people, pro-West people, and majority young people who are supporting a technical government, which they want a group of experts to actually fix the country before handing it to a specific government. What do you think about a technical government?
What do you mean by technical government? Because when I think
What
of that, I
is-
imagine
what-
like robots.
I don't know if it's the majority. This is what Ognen, is that his name?
No, not only Ognen. When you went with the other journalists, I asked around other people who were protesting there, and there was a group of young people who were wanting a technical government. A guy from who flew all the way from Canada just to protest because he was born in Macedonia, who wanted a technical government.
Okay, all right.
What is a technical
I'm gonna
government?
explain this.
What is
I'm
a
gonna-
technical government? I'm sorry, I don't understand.
What it is rather than one political party coming in and replacing the other, there's going to be people are advocating for a caretaker government in which you have experts from different industry, but who are not tied to one political party or who are not embedded in politics, taking over key government positions.
So
That's basically what it is.
what? So for the state to be
I
run by
think
businessmen, basically?
I think the term is technocracy, or
Technocracy.
Yes,
technocrats
Yes.
running the government.
All right. So do like
Which
some kind
is,
of benevolent dictatorship.
the issue is it's quite minimal, because if Gruevski gets overthrown, there's going to be a caretaker government, and the job of the caretaker government is going to be to put on elections so some new political party or coalition can come in.
Well, so what's your take on that? Do you believe in the technocrats?
You're asking me this now, this deep. I am
Your personal
not
opinion.
a fan of any government in the entire region, if not the entire world.
Well-
So I assure you that I'll be no big fan of your beloved technocracy if and when it gets in. Okay, does that answer the question?
What do you mean by my beloved technocracy? I'm not on any sides of this. I'm the neutral side.
The neutral side who stands and claps and cheers and screams and
I was
raises
getting-
hands in joy during the protest.
I was getting my spirit up. I was being the spirit of Macedonian spirit.
Well,
Yeah,
there was a
when
lot
in
of
Rome.
spirit. There was a lot of spirit there yesterday. It was an entirely different picture than
yeah.
when we were there a couple months
Yeah.
ago. It was a dead city with a bunch of buildings that catch your eye. Now it's a alive and kicking city.
Yep. People were high on their spirits yesterday, screaming and cheering and shouting, singing. It was one of the most peaceful protests I've ever witnessed. I was expecting more violence, actually.
Well, there was a little violence a couple weeks ago, and who knows? There could be more. There could be violence as we speak.
Yeah. We probably don't know. They're probably covering it, or who knows what. Okay, excellent. So I think that's we're probably nearing the end of our show. Do you have any closing comments?
Well, follow this podcast and keep up with the news.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Okay, so Nika, what's the name of your foundation again?
It's called Skopje.
Skopje, and how do you spell it?
Squika, but it's in you have to spell it in Romanian. I'm not quite familiar with the Romanian term.
Look, we'll drop a couple links at the bottom.
Yes.
Yeah, that will be simpler. Okay, Josh, you're always here, so hopefully you'll be here next week. This is your host, Daniel, and thank you very much for listening to us.